So, what am I supposed to play during this PlayStation Blackout? You know what? Screw it.
In 2004, Burnout 3 called us the lazy generation. Nearly 22 years later, that same generation is the one keeping games like Burnout 3 alive. From August 23rd through August 30th, 2026, the PlayStation Blackout is asking players for no logins, no play sessions, and no purchases across Sony's platforms. The goal is to protest Sony's plan to stop releasing new PlayStation games on physical discs beginning 2028. And I understand why people are angry. When a digital purchase is really a license connected to an account, losing physical media means losing one of the few ways we can retain control of the games we pay for. But I kept playing. Not because I want an all digital future, exactly the opposite. I put this nearly 22-year-old Burnout 3 disc into my PS2, and it started without a login, a server, or Sony's permission. So that left me with a question. Is refusing to play the strongest message we can send? Or does the real answer lie in what we choose to buy next? The blackout is drawing attention to something bigger than a plastic box sitting on a shelf. Digital games are convenient. I own plenty of them, including my PS4 copy of Need for Speed Rivals. With a few button presses, I can download and play it without hunting down a disc. There is nothing wrong with enjoying that convenience. But convenience and ownership are not the same thing. A physical game can be held, lent, resold, or taken to another compatible console. It can survive the storefront that originally sold it. Physical media is not immortal. Discs can be damaged and hardware eventually fails, but considerably more control remains with the player instead of an account. Burnout 3 demonstrates that difference. I cannot visit a modern PlayStation store and purchase it today. Yet, my copy from 2004 still works because players kept their discs and old consoles alive long after the publisher moved on. That is what people are defending, not merely boxes, discs, and instruction manuals, but the chance for today's games to remain playable history tomorrow. On that principle, the blackout is right. But does refusing to play games we already own protect that future? Or are playing and spending two very different things? The no play rule is not meaningless. A coordinated drop in PlayStation Network activity gives Sony something measurable. If enough players disappear simultaneously, the blackout becomes more than a hashtag. It becomes a line on a chart. I respect that. But my PS2 is not part of that chart. Playing Burnout 3 creates no PSN login, no store visit, and no new purchase. Sony cannot measure the session or earn anything from it. Even on a modern console, using a product we already purchased and buying something new are different consumer actions. Playing says that I value the game. Spending tells a company that I accept how it is currently being sold. That is why the real test comes after August 30th. If every delayed purchase happens on August 31st, the only thing that changed was the timing. If players permanently reconsider what they buy and reject terms they find unacceptable, the message continues. I respect anyone who turns off their console for the blackout. My approach is to keep playing what I own while deciding more carefully what deserves my money next. That difference becomes clearer when we compare my digital copy of Need for Speed Rivals with my physical copy of Burnout 3. On one side is my digital PS4 copy of Need for Speed Rivals. I paid for it, downloaded it, and can launch it with a few button presses. There is genuine value in that convenience. I do not need to locate a disc, worry about scratching it, or find somewhere to store another case. But I do not own a physical copy of Rivals for the PS4. I cannot remove its license from my console, hand it to a friend, resell it, or preserve it as an independent copy. My access depends upon my account and Sony's infrastructure continuing to recognize that purchase. That does not mean Rivals will suddenly disappear tomorrow. It means that preserving my copy is not entirely within my control. On the other side is Burnout 3. It is older, it runs at a lower resolution, and its disc can certainly become damaged. But I can carry that disc to another compatible PS2, lend it to someone, sell it, or keep it on my shelf after every storefront connected to its original release has disappeared. Its soundtrack, modes, cars, and gameplay remain together on that disc. It needs no account verification, online check-in, or additional download to remember what I purchased. Physical media is not immortal. Discs deteriorate, consoles fail, and preservation always requires effort. The important difference is who gets to make that effort. With a physical copy, players can maintain hardware, exchange games, and preserve collections without waiting for a publisher to offer those games again. These two games may look generations apart, but the real rivalry is not PS2 versus PS4, or old games versus new ones. It is account-based access versus a copy held by the player. And if that difference matters to us, then our response cannot end on August 30th. August 30th should not be the finish line. If everyone returns the following day and takes every digital purchase they postponed, Sony can simply wait for the week to end. A protest with an expiration date risks becoming a temporary inconvenience instead of lasting pressure. Sending a continuing message does not require everyone to abandon PlayStation. It means making deliberate choices after the hashtag stops trending. When a physical edition is available, purchasing it new tells publishers that discs still have a market. Buying used keeps those copies circulating and preserves the ability to resell and share games, even if that particular sale no longer reaches the publisher. Supporting companies that release complete games on disc and refusing products sold under terms we find unacceptable gives those companies information they can understand. It also means preserving what we already own. We can maintain our consoles, protect our discs, and keep the cases and manuals, record footage, and continue discussing these games long after their marketing campaigns have ended. Digital players are not the enemy. I own digital games, and I appreciate their convenience. The issue is not that physical media is good and every download is bad. The issue is having a choice. Digital convenience should remain an option rather than becoming the only possible way to access the next generation of games. When the blackout ends, PlayStation activity may return to normal. The stronger message will be found in the purchasing habits that do not return to normal. The physical editions chosen, the digital purchases reconsidered, and the players who continue demanding meaningful ownership after the protest has ended. That is why playing Burnout 3 during the blackout is not a rejection of what people are trying to protest. A working copy from 2004 is evidence of why their concern matters. Keeping that evidence alive took time, care, and a refusal to throw the past away. And that brings me back to what Burnout 3 called us at the beginning. The PlayStation Blackout ends on August 30th. Our responsibility to preserve the games we love does not. Whether you turned off your console or kept playing as I did, the real test is what happens next. Will we accept meaningful ownership disappearing in exchange for convenience? Or will we make choices that keep physical games alive? I did not turn off my PS2. I turned it on because a disc from 2004, still working, made the point more clearly than an empty screen ever could. This is not about rejecting technology or pretending digital games have no value. It is about ensuring that convenience never replaces control without our consent. If you joined the blackout, or if you chose another way to send your message, I want to know what you believe players should do after August 30th. But one thing should already be clear. We are not the lazy generation. We are the generation that keeps old consoles alive, preserves the games we love, and refuses to let convenience cost us ownership.